Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present my paper in SENVAR 2020. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Ilham Dania Saleh, and I am a lecturer in Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, Bandung. At this very occasion, I would like to present my paper entitled Neighborhoods Drifted Apart, Measuring Suburban Neighborhoods' Hardship and Change between 2010 and 2015 in Buffalo Metropolitan Area, New York. To begin, I would like to introduce my paper. This is pertinent to neighborhood change. The changes occurs in terms of physical, social, economic, and demographics. And as neighborhood change, there was spatial variability of changes that occurs in urban areas and suburban areas. So there is urban and suburban neighborhoods dichotomy. Since 2000, approximately 80% of Americans living in the metropolitan areas in the city, including its suburbs. So approximately 40% of suburban neighborhoods are categorized as neighborhood at risk. Thus, this issue of suburban decline or suburban stratification will give impact to approximately 32% of the population in the United States. So suburban areas in US metropolitan areas are heterogeneous. Suburban neighborhoods once considered as monolith and homogeneous currently undergoing change and become more heterogeneous. There is a process of suburban neighborhood stratification and suburban neighborhood diversify and become more heterogeneous. It's stratified into striving outer suburban neighborhoods and declining inner suburban neighborhoods. Suburban neighborhood change in terms of growth and decline can be measured by calculating the absolute change and the relative change. So the utilization of the absolute change to measure suburban decline was conducted by Lucy and Phillips, but the utilization of the relative change and the construction of index to measure suburban decline was also introduced in the study conducted by Orville and Hamlin. Both studies incorporate variables from socio-demographic of suburban area, such as population density, housing, employment. For our case study, we're using those variables to measure suburban decline in the case of suburban neighborhoods of Buffalo Metropolitan Area, New York, United States. So here we can see that this is the United States, and this is New York State, and Buffalo Metropolitan Area is in the western part of New York State. So this is the downtown of Buffalo, inner suburban neighborhoods, and outer suburban neighborhoods. So for this study, we hypothesized that there is significant difference in neighborhood hardship between inner and outer suburban neighborhoods. And we have hypothesized that declining neighborhoods are more prevalent in inner suburban neighborhoods. We conducted several statistical analyses for this study, begin with the descriptive part, and then we calculate the neighborhood hardship index for 2010 and 2015 by incorporating 5 urban social domains such as income, labor force, housing, demographic, and education. So we calculate the neighborhood hardship index in 2010 and 2015. We measure the change between the 2 years, and then we identify the differences of trajectory of neighborhood change between inner suburban and outer suburban neighborhood. To reduce the number of factors of component, we conducted principal component of analysis to determine which factor or which component mostly contribute to neighborhood change, and we can measure how many percentage of their influence. So here we provide the findings that we get from our analysis. So the first one is principal component analysis. From PCA, we have 5 components that contribute more to neighborhood change in Buffalo Metropolitan Area. The first component is pertinent to racial composition change, and it can explain 15% of total variance in neighborhood change. The second component is poverty and family structure change. It contributes approximately 14.3% of total variance. For the component of housing ownership and vacancy change, it contributes approximately 11.2% from the total variance. For the component of income and belongings, it contributes approximately 10.5% of the total variance. And last but not least factor is the factor of education and employment. It explains approximately 10% of the total variance. Accumulatively, those 5 components explain 61.15% of the total variance of suburban neighborhoods. So those factors explain the suburban neighborhood change in Buffalo Metropolitan Area. So we move forward to see the pattern of suburban neighborhood change. More neighborhoods in inner suburbs experience decline. We can see from the red colored map over here, those are neighborhoods or block groups that experience decline. Most of them are located within the boundary of inner suburban neighborhood. Some of them are located in outer suburban neighborhoods, such as in Orchard Park, Lancaster, and part of the Williamsville, and also North Tonawanda and part of Grand Island. We can see that the red part is the declining neighborhoods, the yellow part is stable neighborhood, and the green part is improving neighborhoods. We can see that neighborhoods which are improving from 2010 to 2015 are located outside of inner suburban neighborhoods, so they are located in outer suburban neighborhood. So here, as a conclusion, we can see the highlight of the difference between inner and outer suburban neighborhood. This part is inner suburban neighborhood and this part is outer suburban neighborhood, and we can see the differences in terms of neighborhood demographics, neighborhood hardships, and the change of neighborhood hardships. We can see there is more diversity in terms of racial minority groups. More are located in inner suburban neighborhoods, but less diversity in most outer suburban neighborhoods. In terms of neighborhood hardship, inner suburban neighborhoods having a higher mean of hardship index. So that means that inner suburban block groups or neighborhoods are experiencing more adversities or difficulties. But outer suburban neighborhood experience lower mean of hardship index. So fewer hardships experienced by outer suburban block groups or neighborhoods. When we perform the t-test, we can see that there is significant neighborhood hardship index difference between inner and outer suburban neighborhood in 2010, but there is no significant difference of neighborhood hardship index in 2015. In terms of change of neighborhood hardship, most declining block groups or neighborhoods are located in inner suburban neighborhoods, clustered in Cheektowaga, West Seneca, and Kenmore, Tonawanda. In the case of outer suburban neighborhood, there are enclaves of block groups experiencing decline in outer suburban neighborhoods. Some of them are stable and improving. As a conclusion, both suburban categories experience change. They grow, stable, or decline. However, declining block groups or neighborhoods are more prevalent in inner suburban neighborhoods. These are the list of references I'm using for making this presentation and the paper. That's the end of my presentation today. Thank you very much for your attention. Have a good day.